In this 18th lesson of Hatshepsut, we're going to look at her religious policy. As with all pharaohs, religion was very important during her reign, and Hatshepsut very clearly used her building program to link herself with Amun and other gods. So this followed the traditional practices of building temples to these gods, especially to Amun-Ra and to Hathor and those kind of gods. But there were also some religious innovations. Firstly, amongst these religious innovations was the whole concept of Amun-Ra. So Hatshepsut merged the gods of Amun and Ra to form a combined deity, Amun-Ra. And Amun-Ra began as a war god, as would be fitting following the expulsion of the Hyksos, but eventually became the supreme deity. And he was seen as a city god, a ruler god, a creator god, a sun god, and many other kinds of gods, including the supreme ethical authority, the judge of what was right and wrong. Another innovation was the use of divine oracles. Apparently these oracles expressed Amun-Ra's will, and this was the first case of intervention by the god in human affairs. These usually occurred in religious festivals when the statue of the god in which the god resided was being carried in a bark, and the bark would point to certain people to indicate favour by the god. And quite naturally, Hatshepsut would use these ideas to her advantage. Another idea that came to fruition during Hatshepsut's reign was this idea of personal piety. The oracles indicated a relationship between Amun and the king, but they also indicated personal piety. That is, the god and the king or the pharaoh had a very close personal relationship. Amun-Ra spoke to the pharaoh and said what he wanted. He gave instructions, and this was picked up by later dynasties and used widely. Hatshepsut also wanted to strengthen the relationship between Amun-Ra and the pharaoh. She does this by emphasizing both the male aspects of her kingship and how Amun-Ra provided her with those, but uniquely she also emphasizes the female aspects of her kingship, and in particular the combination of Hathor and Isis and the similarities in that story. A final piece of innovation came about in the religious festivals. There are at least two different festivals that we think were first celebrated during Hatshepsut's reign. That's the festival of Opet and the beautiful festival of the Valley.